for coming to keep the panel running. Our original artist and vendor who is hosting this is unfortunately not feeling well and could not make it, so we're going to send them a nice well wishes.
Yes.
We all want to be like, thank you, Slappy Happy, for putting together the panel. Thank you,
Slappy.
Slappy.
We love Slappy.
But yes, we're going to be doing some plush maintenance and repair, as well as some additional topics of the plush making artists and vendors choosing. So pick a fun one to talk about.
It's plush making. It's all fun.
Is it though?
Yes. It's totally not self-destructive or insanity inducing.
No, I don't sleep with a wrist brace on. No.
We have microphones as well, so you can kind of.
Oh, nice.
They have switches,
Yes.
so they're off. That's
Okay.
on.
Okay.
So
Ooh.
make sure you turn it on when you want to talk. It's on right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. We got this. All right.
Are we gonna sing harmonies? Get around
the
Oh, plush mystery.
Oh, plush mystery.
Yeah.
That took a minute to see.
Look at all these Rubio plush. They're so beautiful.
Yeah, she is beautiful.
We love Rubio.
I'm gonna look at this one. I'm gonna be nosy. I'm gonna look at this one.
Izzy Bat is so
Yes, I
cute.
like it.
I love Rubio did the bat. Rubio always like takes the plush and like does like one year she made all Kieran's, this she did bat. She always does like these cool creative topics with her plush.
Did she do the sea ponies one year too?
Yes. She's so cool.
Can we can we just gush about our favorite creators?
Yeah,
Cool?
right?
Oh my God, let's go. I mean, we'll be here all night though.
Yeah, right? I don't know if the panel's on.
All right. So, how should we start this?
We could start with introductions. I mean, because technically nobody knows.
You
us.
just start by saying Folex a bunch. No. All right, yeah, introduction's probably good.
Okay.
Just suggest moving the mic a little closer to you guys.
Oh.
Pull it
Yes.
just in a little bit more. Yeah.
How's that work?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, since Dr. Hoop's kind of claimed that one.
Yeah.
Do you want this? I feel like you'd be more part of the group.
Yeah. Come join us.
I would like you to purchase bike.
There you go. And now you two can share that one, and we'll share this
That
one.
sounds like a
Yeah. All right. New friends.
My cauldron so my yarn doesn't go all over the place.
All right.
Or my cats don't play with it.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Oh, hey, look, I can see you guys now.
Yeah.
Hi.
Join
We
us.
have a fourth member.
Maybe.
All right.
So, which end do we want to
Go ahead and start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Stephanie. Online, I am known as either Saka or So Adorkable. I have been making plushies for years. I mainly do, nowadays, I do little tripods, the little pony Tamagotchis that you guys have been seeing probably. And I did, and one year I did do teddies that I need to start doing again. I miss my teddies.
Awesome. All right, I'm Hibiscus Stitch. Hello. Next year will be 20 years sewing and 10 years doing conventions. So next year I'm going to do like so many cool plushies.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I make a lot of beanies. There's a glimmer right there. And also I make long Furbies. Those are my two things. Beanies and long Furbies. No, I make a ton of other plushies too. But yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yay.
I like your magnet one, but they need to come back.
Yes, they do.
I'm Peruser of Pieces. I've been in the fandom since 2011, been making plushies since 2013. So this would be my 11th year making plushies. Love doing it. Plan to continue doing it. Happy to be here.
Yeah.
And I am Stacy Van Diemen. I'm probably the newbie.
You are.
Yeah, I know. Hooves and I have been coming here for about 3 years now. And while I make a lot of other types of plushies, I mostly crochet the ponies, so.
Excellent.
Yeah. Oops, looks amazing.
It really does.
He's no problem.
He's a good bee.
He's a good bean. All right, so what do we want to get started with?
Well, maybe we can tell people what goes into making a plushie.
That's a good
Start with
idea.
that?
Yeah.
Do we want to start with like breakdown of colors and designs? What makes
Oh,
a
God.
character harder to plush compared to others?
Well, that'd be a good place to start. Yeah. Go
Yeah.
for it.
Well, each say something.
Start
Go
us
ahead.
off.
We'll start with you.
Sorry, I was planning a panel with something along these lines, so I kind of had that.
Yeah, there you go.
When it comes to making a character and making a plush, something that you can create on 2D is completely different than what you can create on 3D usually. Not only because we're limited to our fabrics, but also because we're literally taking something in 3D or 2D and trying to give it like actual form and volume. A lot of things that that look really cool in characters, like a bunch of colored stripes, a bunch of gradients, the fluffy hooves. Those are harder for us to make because they're different from the normal, and a lot of times you can't really go, like, especially with gradients, you can't go from like a darker color to a lighter color.
Is that their outline?
Because the lighter color
the outline.
won't exactly appear on your darker color. And it's very hard to do, and not everyone has airbrushing, not everyone has sublimation. The other thing is with the stripes, you can have a ton of rainbow stripes or literally just be going back and forth between two colors. It's the same amount of sewing, regardless of either which way you do it. And it's still something that just will add cost to your plush. It's not impossible, but it will add cost.
All right, what was the topic again?
Things that can that a person
That
can add
add
in their
cost.
character that can add cost, or that you just don't, that just really difficult for
I
you.
got you. For me, I like making more complicated things because a lot of the little details help hide like errors and things like that. So like, you know, if you're making something really complicated, a lot of the details like blend together and look amazing. If you're making something simple like a Jigglypuff that is just one color, a ball with a little tuft of hair, it's a lot harder to make the simple ones. They are like deceptively simple, to be honest. They're a lot like easier to make because there's less materials involved, there's less sewing involved, but like if you get one stitch wrong, it can make it look really awkward. Like with the squishmallows, you know, they're very simple, but if they don't do the seam right, suddenly you've got like a little pointed end at the bottom instead of a nice curved smooth bit. So the simple ones can be a little bit harder to make sometimes. I really like the detailed ones just because I like getting in there and doing all the little messy bits and everything. They do take more time, they are more complicated and everything. But yeah, I really like doing them, and that's just what I like doing. I like doing the complicated things.
Fair.
I like doing complicated ponies too, but complicated ponies have a lot more opportunity for things to go wrong.
That is also true.
Or a lot harder to hide mistakes. You said it made it easier to hide mistakes. I envy you, because to me it's harder to hide them on something that's more complicated, because it's harder to make the things look right when they go together if you plan it a certain way.
That's true.
I like making clothes for ponies. I also hate making clothes for ponies. Because it's so difficult to pattern things to fit a body the right way. But once you get it right, when you actually do get it looking right, it makes it look amazing.
Do not lose your pattern.
But I do, yeah, exactly. Don't lose your pattern. I'm constantly changing my clothes pattern, and I've learned a little trick, which is to, instead of making like a t-shirt for a pony, make a vest first and then add the arms. It's just little things like that makes it so much easier if you do it piece by piece instead of trying to do the whole thing at once. That's kind of a general thing I have to say. Like, break it down into small pieces and try to tackle it one thing at a time.
Yes, one thing at a time is
yeah.
definitely a good idea.
Absolutely.
And trust the process.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
There's parts where they absolutely look ugly and you think it's going to turn out like absolute garbage. Yeah. But you just got to follow it through sometimes. Even if it does turn out not looking good, then you've learned something for next time.
Yep.
Yeah.
I said, in the yarn world, finding colors is not easy.
Oh, I bet.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of the times when I do my plush, it's more I walk past the yarn and go, wait a second, that's this one. I found Trixie yesterday. I was so happy. The colors for Trixie. So that's on my list of things to do. And then with mine, I actually embroider the eyes and the cutie marks because it's easier than trying to do it with a hand stitch.
Yeah.
It's actually the reason I ended up getting a machine in the first place.
Yes.
But for me, I guess I don't have to worry too much about patterns, but I have to learn how to count. So
That's true.
And you're trying to count while we're all talking. Good luck.
Yeah.
it's very easy. It's just stitching and then increasing the last one. I'm making a tail, it just gets bigger. So but,
And also, as you can tell, there is no one size fits all for plush making. We all have different
Yeah.
things we specialize in and can do better than.
mine end up being a lot bigger than they're supposed to be.
I have that problem too.
Right? So last year someone asked me, can you make him smaller? Because I'd have to buy a second seat on the airplane. So I did. He's only this big.
Oh no.
It's like, well, that's a bit of a size difference. But he was not finished because his hair is only three things around, and that's a tiny, tiny crochet hook. And as you can see, I like large crochet hooks. So I'm working on that.
Well, at least with him, you can put him in the passenger seat and ride in the carpool lane.
Yeah.
That's a plus.
So on the way here, he was in one seat, Izzy was over here somewhere. Was in the other, and Discord was part of him was in the other seat because I had to put it together when I got here.
Discord, of course, he's in pieces.
He would take up multiple seats.
He's the same height as this one.
Oh wow.
Yeah, let's talk about how when you have different pieces of plushies all finished but they're not put together, how your entire work site looks like a hacksaw murder.
Yes.
Yes.
So many disembodied heads. So many.
Headless
Am I
bot
making
and the
something, or
headless,
do I work for IKEA?
right? And all just the tails and the manes and the ears, everything just laying out. And you're like, I hope I don't lose track of what's what.
Yes.
That's why you get the individual bags and you put the pieces
Yeah,
inside it and
that's
just do it
the
that
easiest
way. Yeah.
And then sometimes, yeah.
As long as you have good handwriting. If you have bad handwriting, then you're kind of SOL.
I can read my handwriting.
And then sometimes after like a big plush making session, I'll look at like this pile of pattern pieces that I make mine out of graphing paper because I'm old school. I just draw mine by like hand. And then I'll look at all of them. Usually I just stash them under my keyboard. I pick it up and like, I don't know what any of this goes to. Why did I do this? I'll do it again, but why did I do this?
This one kind of matches that one. Maybe.
Are we organized? No.
Oh God, no. Is there any plush maker or any kind of crafts person that's organized in any shape, form?
Yes, according to that plush maker.
Yeah, that's true. It's organized chaos.
I'm organized according to me.
Fair point.
But unfortunately, when you're making plushies, sometimes stuff goes wrong. Sometimes you have to learn how to repair things or how to do basic maintenance on a plushie. For me, there's nothing worse than when you're trying to stuff a tiny little, like, fidgety little area, and you're trying to really get it in there, and you hear that rip sound.
Yeah.
Or the pop of the
And you
seam.
popped a stitch, and you're like, oh, you close your eyes.
I
and
hate
you just do
that.
And then you look to see what the damage is. So when you do that, let's use that as an example because we're talking about maintenance. When you pop a stitch on something that's been sewn, you want to repair it by doing something that's called a ladder stitch. And I really wish we had something that we could show with. But essentially, you take two pieces of fabric that are kind of put together like this, because this is how your fabric looks when you sew it. Let me put it. You sew it like this. You sew it together like this, and then you flip it so that it's like this. So you don't have a seam showing on the outside. So this is the part that you see on the plushie, on the outside of it. And sometimes that thread rips, and you see inside when you're not supposed to. So you do a ladder stitch, which is where, I'm not doing something dirty, I swear. You get the thread going on the inside like this, and you stick the thread in on the inside to try to meet where it was before. And it's called a hidden stitch or a ladder stitch. And you just go in and out on one side, you pull it through, and then you do it on the other side, in and out, and you pull it through. And slowly you pull it back together like that. And you try to bury the knot when you make the knot at the end of the thread. Try to bury it on the inside so that it doesn't show up, doesn't like.
If you
make a rough
Google
spot.
ladder stitch, you will find so many picture diagrams.
Yes.
Just know that is
Yes.
going to be your most basic repair type stitch. Build-A-Bear's actually, I used to work at Build-A-Bear for a bit. Yeah. And after you stuff them up, they actually have the thread ready to go where it's already ladder stitched. So you just like pull the string through gently, and then you cut it off and tie it up a bunch. So yeah, they're already pre-ladder stitch. So
Nice.
yeah, just look it up on Google. You will find so many diagrams. But yeah, I find that whenever I repair a ton of plushies, people will bring them to me at conventions. I find the most like areas that need repair are where the tails attach, the heads where they attach, and then like with the manes, like the little pieces on the mane where they're like attached to the head, those come undone a lot. So those are like the three main points. I have fixed so many tails and so many heads. Manes are a little less common, but you do see that as well. So those are the areas to like look for wear and tear and damage.
I make it a point specifically to go, when I'm stitching my tails on, I go around it 3 times, and I go around it twice for my heads, because especially when you get little kids, especially, they'll come up and they'll get a plush. What's the first thing they want to do? They want to grab it by the tail.
And
Yeah, the
swing it around.
Swing, or
That's
they'll
what they
grab it
want
by
to
the
do.
head and tote it around.
Yeah, so you want to have extra stitching there to help keep things in place. Anything anyone else wants to add?
I mean, how would
So mine come in pieces too, so I have to basically sew them together. Same with the heads and the tails. I will actually go a little bit in and then come around a second time on the outside layer. So I'm actually taking 2 layers of the crochet and attaching it, layering it down almost like you're folding it in.
Nice.
So it holds a little bit better.
Yeah.
we try to make them tougher for you guys, but we do know a lot of you guys really love your plushies, and a lot of this is hand told. We can only do so much.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
guys are such lovers of your plushies, and we truly appreciate it. We really do, but we try.
Yeah, we definitely try. And then, like, if you're ever at a convention and you have a plushie that needs some repairs, if you find me or like any of the plush artists, usually we'll be happy to help you repair your plushie. And, you know, when there's downtime, of course. I've taken a few plushies back to the room with me and repaired them for people. But yeah, it never hurts to ask.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, we're gonna have needle, thread, scissors.
Oh yeah, I always,
sewing kit,
yeah.
stuff, so we're gonna
I always have my sewing kit on
We've
me.
got the emergency sewing kit, yeah.
Oh yeah. One thing I recommend for spot cleaning is a product called Full-X.
mwah.
Yeah, Full-X moi.
Also, toothbrush. And for
Yes.
babs especially, do not throw them in the washing machine. Please, you will ruin their hair.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then you end up with this.
Oh, yeah, that poly.
The smoke has been wrong, there's still
The good frizzy. Yep.
Yeah.
Still get really
Yeah.
tingly hair easily. Though.
I absolutely recommend toothbrushes when you're cleaning because of the fine bristles.
Yeah.
Or I use a slicker brush sometimes if it's on a bigger plush, like a cat slicker brush.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, a thing to do with the hair though, like especially the poly hair, which this is also for like the little figures, you can put conditioner in them.
Yep. Conditioner is really good for them.
It really is.
Minky's really resilient as a fabric too.
Yeah, that
luckily,
too. Yeah.
So.
A lot of baby blankets are made from Minky, so one reason because it's really soft. Second reason is because it's really sturdy because the baby is going to make a mess on the blanket many times. You'll have to wash it many times. So Minky is very sturdy.
Yeah, even Minky plushies, you don't really want to put them in the wash either.
No.
Mainly because it won't really damage the fabric too much, but the main thing is the stuffing on the inside. It'll get wet and it will mold because it will not dry quick enough for it to not mold. Even if you were to put it in the dryer will damage the Minky if you're not careful.
Yeah, I don't recommend doing the dryer. The dryer will absolutely because it's the heat. The heat is melting because all of these are synthetic materials. Like they're not real fur from animals. They are from plastics and different types of materials like that. So the heat from a dryer will melt them. So do not put it in the dryer.
Is there any special instructions for crochet?
That's a good question because I've never actually tried cleaning it.
We're learning lots.
I tried to glow you up. I'm sorry.
I was like, I would probably not put it in the wash though. I mean, it's got
Good advice.
just as much stuffing on the inside, so it's the same
Yeah.
kind of stuffing.
Yeah.
But yarn will tend to unravel if you try and put it through the wash or something, especially if you try and use velvet. Velvet doesn't like to stay in knots, so I'll actually use a little dab of fabric glue on the end of my knots to keep them stuck.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And if you spot clean, you'd probably have to be really gentle because you wouldn't want the whatever you're cleaning to get into the knit itself.
I mean, it just depends on whoever made it. Mine are really tight, so if some that are crocheted, you might actually be able to see a little bit into. So it would be careful with the. I also like to use really thick yarn, so.
Febreze is also something you can use on your plushies. Like if your plushie has just been
Oops.
somewhere that smells
doesn't
like
work
if
very well.
you're a non-smoker and you're with somebody who smokes and you get a smoke smell,
Yeah, I think that's
or
kinda
if
it, yeah.
it's just been in a bin for too
That's
long and
all
it's got
she
that
had,
kind of
yeah.
that little musty smell.
We'll have to
Febreze.
revise.
Febreze is completely safe on Mickey plushies. It works great. It smells great. When I do commissions, I almost soak my plushies in Febreze when I send them out so they smell nice.
Oh my gosh, happening when I was doing plushies during like the start of COVID, we didn't know too much about what was going on, so I would just like hand sanitize periodically as I was working, and everyone got commented and said like, my plush smelled so good, it smelled like cucumbers.
I mean, Bath and Body Works.
I could just eat her up.
Don't eat plushies.
No,
Yeah,
no.
there's the fiber, but no.
They do not taste like marshmallows.
What else is on?
Oh, restuffing.
Restuffing.
Stuffing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
that's always a good one.
I've seen that before. There was one time where, sorry to take over, but yeah, one time when I was on, this was ages ago, this was like in 2007 it was 8 or 9. It was when I was on the Pokemon collecting live journal group and someone was making plush commissions of like this Chandelure Pokemon and someone received theirs and they said it smelled terrible. And they asked if I could help them. So I had them mail it to me. I opened it up, it smelled terrible. So one thing I had to do because it smelled so bad was take all the stuffing out because the stuffing will hold that smell. Took it all out, did a fresh round of stuffing, fixed a few little bits up, and I think I also put like some scent pellets because I worked at Build-A-Bear. I put some Build-A-Bear scent pellets in there, and
We're just gonna make extra sure.
yeah, now it smells like strawberries. But yeah, sometimes you will have to restuff your plushies because stuffing will break down over time. You can kind of see right here where some of the limbs on Fluttershy, just because over the years they get broken down. That's why I like to stuff mine so full, because stuffing does break down, especially the more you cuddle, the more it's handled, the years
And it compresses
and
a
everything.
little
Oh
bit,
yeah.
too.
Yeah,
I
'cause
know
I-
Build-A-Bear will restuff your plushies for life for free if you just bring it in.
Oh, that's cool.
I
Yeah.
did not know that.
Did not know
Yeah. So like I made
That
her
is helpful.
in,
I will definitely use that.
so I made her in 2016, like she's saying, so the limbs are a lot floppier. I made her last year, so she's a lot firmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just naturally breaks
just
down over
happens.
time. Yeah.
And if you do need to take out stuffing to restuff, or if like she was explaining with the smell, I highly don't recommend it with custom plushies, because a lot of us do our best to hide our hole seams, or our hole seams are around the head.
Yeah.
But manufactured plushies, you can kind of glance, and it's usually on the back, either the back of the head or down the spine. You can kind of sort of see where the fabric just looks like it's scattered a little bit differently. That's usually where the manufacturers have closed them. You can usually just clip it, pull it apart, get all your stuffing, and it won't go any further than that manufactured hole. And like I said, just get all stuffing, restuff it, and then just splatter stitch it closed, and you're good to go.
Yeah, sometimes that will help give your plushie new life, just to like add new stuffing. It'll help fluff it up, make it look plumper, back to life. It will really help add a lot of use to it, because plushies can last a long time if you take care of them, and you know.
Yep. This is my baby. She's been with me on so many trips, so many airplanes, so many luggages. But
She's
she's
so
doing
cute.
fine. She's holding up.
I said that strike lining is mwah, by the way.
Yes.
Ma'am, did you have a
I'm
question?
gonna give an example of plushies lasting a long time. His mother has this like plushie. She must have wanted a fair. It's the color of Trixie. It's blue. It's a big giant poodle, and I don't know what's in that thing, but it stands firm still to this day.
Oh wow.
It's
Oh, wow.
probably upholstery foam if
And
it's
it's
from a
probably
fair.
from the 1960s.
Upholstery
Oh,
foam is
wow.
styrofoam, 'cause I've gotten plushies from fairs,
Oh, yeah.
and they have that in it.
Plushies can last if you take care of them.
Thinking about bringing it to you, being like, hey.
Yeah, that big 10-pound box, be careful when you cut it. I usually cut just like a little hole
Yeah, you can cut a
to
little
reach
hole in
it.
And it goes,
If you cut the whole thing, it will go.
Okay, you're good.
Yeah, go for it. It was great having you on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We know this is a little bit of improv.
Yeah, it's just like a little bit of improv, but hey, we're having a good time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, did you have a question?
You guys,
The best like stuffing prices. Like, who's your dealer?
We have dealers.
it's on sale right now at Joann's.
They're having their good sales.
It is only worth it on sale at Joann's because they way overcharge if you don't have coupons or a sale. I don't recommend it
I'm
without a
pretty
sale.
sure
Yeah, I
they
agree.
raise their prices so that it's normal with the coupon.
Yeah.
Check.
What type of stuffing?
Well, first, real
Sorry,
quick.
go ahead.
Check Walmart of all places, because I find good deals there.
That's where I get mine. Walmart has the cheapest, like I get 10-pound boxes, and then if I know I'm going to be doing a lot like Lithlon Furbies or something, I'll get a 20-pound box. Walmart literally has the cheapest prices, even cheaper than Joann's with coupons, and it's the same exact stuffing that Joann has.
it is.
And polyfill.
Yeah,
brand.
Polyfill.
Yeah,
Polyfill.
Yes.
Yeah, there's some other ones like the Fairfield. Don't use it. It's so
No,
stiff and
it's-
gross.
yeah.
I hate it.
Sticky, don't use it.
Bad mixture,
No.
bad juju. Also, when you're stuffing, I don't know if you guys do this. I personally do this. When I pull my stuffing out of the bag, I fluff it.
Yep.
Pull
Yes,
it apart a little bit.
yeah.
Always
it.
fluff
Otherwise,
it.
it's compacted.
Yeah, always
Yeah.
fluff your stuffing.
Just
Yeah.
fluff your stuffing up. And then you had a question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so, we've been talking a lot of stuff. It's a question I had. So, like, I'm currently constantly, like, thinking about making or slash restuffing a plushie. So, just in mind, and reason is because I plan on using, like, I want to use pellets because I know that generally lets me make the plush sound, like, floppier.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I can talk.
Out.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice when it comes to using those instead of stuffing?
So what I do, this is so cute. I've never
got
held one of
pellets
these.
in
I know that. I know that. I've never actually held one before. So I use pellets too. I use pellets in the hooves of my legs. So the idea is I do that so that it weighs down and rides on your shoulder. So, but I put pellets in the hooves and then I stuff the rest of the body normally. What was your question? I'm sorry. I got part
Got
of it.
distracted.
Yeah.
It was mainly just about like using because like my thing is back that I meant to say like the softness of that stuffing is. I always much more prefer playing with plushies that you actually get flop around, not just like.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So when you just stuff, if I took this pattern that I make and I just stuffed it normally, it would be like you said. The legs would just stick out stiff like this until they get broken in a little, but basically it would just do that. So that's another reason why I use the poly pellets, is it makes it a little more floppy from the get-go.
Yeah.
You kind of use, Derpy's newer there, but yeah, she still does it. Yeah.
And it's a little bit of trial and error too, to see like, is this what I like? If not, take out some stuffing. If it is, put some stuffing in. And a lot of what manufactured plush that have beans in them will do is they'll put the beans and like they'll make a little pouch, put the beans in the pouch, and then stitch that pouch closed, and then they'll put that in the plush so that way the beans all stay together. So that's another method you can use. But yeah, it's all trial and error to figure out what is best for you.
And another reason I use the pellets too is because I like how it gives the plushies a little weight to them too. Otherwise, they can be pretty light without something to kind of weigh them down, give them like a nice little heft to them.
I think you had the question
this gentleman
first.
was
I was
first.
just going to ask how you get the pellets to stay in the legs and not move around the rest of the body.
So when it's just a body, there's a hole. Let me turn it this way. Her neck here is where the hole is, and then there's nothing in it. I have a funnel. I stick the funnel in her neck, and then I pour the pellets in, and then I like do this number to get the pellets down in her legs.
The pellet dance.
And then when I get it where I want, I take a stuffing stick, which is just a wooden little chopstick, basically.
Extra long.
Stuff the stuffing to like where the joint is. Stuff it on both sides so it doesn't come out. Stuff the rest of the body. Pour more pellets in for these, stuff it in there, and then stuff the rest of the body. Just do it one little leg at a time.
What he does, that's what I do for my beanies too. It
That's
keeps
what I
them in
do.
the belly. And
Spread through the.
yeah.
Yeah.
And another tool that I use instead of the stuffing stick, I like using hemostats. They're like what surgeons use
Oh yeah.
to like when they're like, clipping back various gross bits. They'll use these things called hemostats, and they like lock in place. And you can use that to like, they're like scissors, but with a blunt end. Grab the stuffing and put it in there. I like using those versus the sewing stick. That just works best for me.
But like is there any type of things and tools you would recommend for like stuff, because I do know that like sometimes it's like flat, some have to be plastic, some have to be like made out of metal. I know that really old ones use like rice and stuff, beans, actual beans like that. So like, what do you recommend or what do you don't recommend?
The type, we use poly pellets, which is the plastic polyester type pellet.
Yeah.
I have had friends who have used rice, but they use that more for like when they were going to heat. It was in a cotton base, and it was kind of a heating pad, cooling pad type thing. Poly pellets are usually what you want to go with, or glass beads.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to break, they're not going to mold, they're not going to mildew. Rice can if it gets wet,
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what
and
I
it can
was
also attract bugs if you're not too careful.
Yeah, I don't recommend rice, but you can also find the poly pellets at like Walmart and Joann and different places like that.
Any craft store will have
Yeah.
poly pellets.
Yeah, I got all my stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Yeah, you
I
have a
think this
question.
lady? Yeah.
I was trying to make a standing plushie and it just keeps falling each way. I tried to take a rock in the legs, but it felt like it had tumors. So it's what can you use inside your plushie to balance it that you won't feel through the stuffing? Like, is there anything you can hide in the stuffing? that's heavy?
Well, I think there's two parts to that question. So the balance part, you want to make sure you have 3 points of contact with the ground, not just 2. So if it's just legs, of course it's going to fall over because it's just a biped. So if we say an anthro pony, for instance, make 2 legs and a tail. Be that
So, it would
the
stand
touch
like that.
points.
Yeah.
Have to be a tripod.
Yeah, as far as, because I've made a pony before that was like kicking out her back hoof in like a cute way. So, but she was standing, but I just weighted down all 3 of the legs that were touching the ground with poly pellets to make it heavier. And then that did enough. And then the leg that was kicking out the back, I just stuffed normally because it was lighter. So anything to make like the part that you want to stay on the ground, to ground it, make that part heavier is my advice. And then make everything above that lighter so that it naturally wants to like stand the way you want it to. If it's a really odd shape, you can try giving it a wire skeleton on the inside. Sometimes that's just necessary.
Cleaners.
Because I do wire skeletons for tails on like bigger
Yeah, because
ponies.
they arc that tail.
Yeah, to get the
beautifully.
tail to stand up. Like,
And there's also actual armature that you can get, which is like the little plastic spines that bend and everything. Those are really useful for like flexibility and everything. They can be used to stabilize, but the wire has a little bit more weight to it sometimes. So that can definitely help you keep your shape and help it stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I've also used it's like a plastic. Oh, what is it? It's like almost. When I was younger, we used to make these things called mug rugs, and you would run your yarn through it. It's this hard plastic, and I actually cut them to the shape of the hooves and put them in with maybe sometimes foam or anything to cover so it doesn't poke through. And,
Oh yeah, get
and
that
then I'll
that
stuff it
hard
right
both
after that,
bottom.
just to give it make sure it stays flat kind of thing.
Okay. This gentleman?
Oh, I was just wondering, like, how long it takes you to make one of these from start to finish, and how much they usually sell for?
That's a good question.
Question of the
Yeah,
day.
we should probably start at one of the ends and go down.
Yeah.
Mine is probably the most diverse of price range and time, so it depends on my yarn because I crochet them. Hooves probably took me 2 to 3 months, I want to say. Each leg is a full skein of yarn for him. Each one of those skeins of yarn was $15. The body itself took 8 to 9, maybe 10 skeins. The hair 2 to 3. So, and there's probably about 20 pounds of stuffing inside of him. So he's
a big boy.
He's a big boy. That's part of the reason he's kind of becoming my mascot, and because I would have to put him up at like $1,000 in that range. Some of the smaller ones, they don't take as much, not even a full skein, so I wouldn't charge those as high. I think the smallest, lowest priced one I think I've ever had was maybe like $25, $30. So I have a very wide range. So all sorts of fun. The small ones get safety eyes, no embroidery.
And this includes for transportation. We gotta get these things here. They're not easy to transport.
That's true.
Yeah. I had to come in with 2 bins today. 2 bins on my own.
I didn't do
Well, I
it.
hope they're
I didn't do
okay.
it.
Pinkie's crew, are you guys okay? Do we need to call the security guards for the building?
Don't look at me.
Okay, we tried.
No vouch. We'll be each other's alibis.
And-
So for me, my main thing I always say is it depends on if I have a pattern made for it already or not. So for these girls like here, I have the pattern for every part of them already made. I have the pattern for the body, a pattern for the mane, the tail, everything. There's no guesswork involved with just making a basic Fluttershy or basic Derpy, someone I've already made. So at that point, it's just going through the process of doing it. And it can take anywhere from 3, 4, 5 days, usually. That's me doing it full time, 8 hours a day. Sometimes they can take longer, like this Luna here is mine as well. She has a lot of different things that the basic ponies don't. So I do applique shoes on her. I do the rhinestones that are attached to her hair. Lots of extra different things, and she takes probably closer to a week to make her. If we're talking about bigger ponies, it only takes more time. I've made one life size before.
God bless.
Yeah.
Like
But,
the big ones down here.
She was, well, the one I made was about 3 feet wide, or 3 feet long rather. So,
Oh my.
but if it's something custom like an OC, or if I'm making something different, I can't put a timeline on it because there's so much trial and error that goes into just trying patterns and trying to see what works and what doesn't, and trying to get it, meeting my own perfectionism halfway so I don't get too ground down. That's the biggest time killer right there.
We are our own biggest critics, we swear.
Yeah.
Finished is better than perfect.
So yeah, that's very true. Finished is better than perfect.
Yeah.
So it's a real time range. Good.
I am the queen of underpricing myself and pricing myself really poorly because even though I've been doing this for 20 years, I don't know. It's like I'll look at something and I'll just be able to I'll like look at it and be like, okay, let's get to work, and I'll just get to work. I don't pay attention to like the time or what's going into it half the time. It's why I kind of stopped doing commissions because I just don't know what to charge. Like one time I made a very detailed protogen this big. It was like super detailed. It took me a week to make. I charged $50 for that, and I don't know why I did that. I got scolded for it on many angles. This was a few years ago. Yeah.
Scolding.
Yeah.
Scolding.
I've been slowly raising the prices on my beanies. I started at like $30 for them, and then like
Say 3.
30. Yeah. I started at 30.
Not that bad.
And then
Really undercharged.
Thread costs more than $3.
no, not 3. And then I slowly started raising it because The main thing that made me really go and be like, I need to raise my prices was the amount of pain that this is in right now from making plushies. Cause like I do convention vending for a living. That's what I do. So I make plushies in a different way than other people. I keep it in mind because it's a business for me. Different price points. So I'm like, okay, these little things, a little in the hoop simple plush, I can do like $10, $15 for that. This one is a little more complex in the hoop. That's like $20 to $30 for that. And like trying to make different price ranges and products in different price ranges. So I like to have the beanies. I'm trying to work on a keychain so I can have something that's like $10 to $20 for different people. I have the big ones that I make, which I charge probably not as much as I should. I usually charge $300 to $500 for like the one like this big. Usually they're like 15 to 18 inches.
Example graph here. We got Starlight Glimmer with the kite and
Yeah.
Yeah. On the front of the wagon.
I've been slowly raising my prices just because people have started being like, I will beat you up if you don't raise your prices.
Those are
But yeah,
good friends.
Yeah, they are good friends. But yeah, I don't know. It's really weird to like make something and then be like, oh gosh, now I have to price this and sell it. I've been getting a little better. I remember Anthrocon last year. I made this Slitherwing. It took me like, it's a Pokemon. It's like a weird moth looking guy. It took me like 8 months to make it. I would not like it once. I would like work on it, put it down, work on it, put it down, work on it, put it down. And so my friends bullied me to charging $8.50 and it sold within the first like 10 minutes. And I'm like, okay, maybe I should start, maybe I should start raising my prices. So like I've been doing this 20 years and I don't know what to price myself. Everyone has trouble pricing themselves. This is like the biggest issue you will ever have. It's just like, what do I charge? But yeah, you should really take into like account, I mean like, you know, do as I say, not as I do. Take into account the materials, the time, the you know, wear and tear on your body. Like, you know, sometimes I have to take your breaks. So that's pretty much what I do. Now it's your turn. So what were you gonna say?
Well, just to interject real quick,
Yeah,
like
go ahead.
it's not that we price our plushies as high as we do just to try to like be greedy or get as much money out of it. It really is because of the time and effort that goes into it, the cost of the materials. Like there's so much that goes into it that dictates why we price them the way that we do, and it makes it really hard when some people like come up and they expect it to be way cheaper than it's actually worth. And then, so.
Yeah, it's
that was
totally okay to not be able to afford one of our plushies, especially if it's one of the more expensive ones.
And it's okay to tell us that you can't afford it. We're not gonna hate
Yeah,
you
you-
or attack you.
No, we
How
get it.
dare you say that?
Yeah, you can have the plush and be like, oh, like you hear the price and you can say like, oh, that's out of my price range. There you go. The end.
You're good.
Yeah, we just like
we're not gonna hold it
you
against
liking
you.
our plush. Yeah.
Sometimes we can't afford our own plushies.
Yeah, I can afford mine. Yeah. Yeah. But like, you know, there's been some, if there are like, you know, you don't want to be rude about it. You don't want to say like, oh my gosh, who would pay that much? Or like, you shouldn't charge that much for your plush. Like, you know, just a simple like, that's out of my price range. There you go.
Yep, you're good. Throw messages or you're talking to someone on social media. Don't ghost us, please. I humbly request. You're still allowed to say, oh, that's out of my price range. We're not going to blacklist you. We're not going to refuse your commission in the future. But you ghosting us, I know some people have told me that there's still a little bit of hope that they'll get that commission. And I've known some of my friends, it's caused them really bad anxiety, which they had bad anxiety to begin with, but that's neither here nor there. But telling us that that's beyond my budget, we'll be like, okay, and we're good, we're done. We don't have to worry about it. It's not in the back of our heads because we beat ourselves up enough, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. There's no pressure.
Yeah, there's absolutely no pressure to tell us I can't afford that.
Yeah. And then you want to talk about your pricing. And
Oh yeah, my pricing.
Or maybe later.
My pricing, because I'm weird. I have a very tough time keeping track of my time. So my pricing is mainly done based on how complicated I find the plushes and my material costs. So 9 times out of 10, I'm not charging for my correct amount of time. Like, the only reason I know my time on my Pride Pod at the moment is because I actually timed it. The embroidery alone on a single Pride Pod takes almost 2 hours by itself. That doesn't include assembly, that doesn't include cutting it out, that doesn't include any of that jazz. That is just my stomach piece and its face piece. And then assembling it, I worked July 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. and I got 44 of them done. So yeah,
That's
no,
awesome.
I came here exhausted. It's
Yeah.
great.
Nice.
So I have kind of priced those a bit more where I feel more comfortable at the 50 range. Now when it comes to ponies, kind of like how he was saying, if I have the pattern, I'm going to charge less. If you want a custom pose or if you want something a bit more difficult, then yeah, that price is going to go up, because then not only is it taking more time, it's going to take more material, because we're going to have to test that pattern. We're going to have to tweak it. We're going to have to alter it. We're going to have to change it and things like that.
Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
Well, there's another aspect of it too. Like if you want an OC plushie, we can't resell the OC plushie. We can't make an OC plushie multiple times. I can make Fluttershy as many times as I want to. So I can afford to price her a little cheaper if I can reuse her pattern over and over. But somebody's custom OC that's just their design and nobody else's, I have to make a pattern for it, but I can only use it one time. So I'm investing, well, the price reflects that. It's very much a one-off type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's.
Yeah.
Any other questions,
questions?
or comments? Yes, sir.
Okay, so one of the things is, so when it comes to pony plushies, something I'm aware of that is the figurines. One of the big appeals to them historically has always been the hairplane. One thing that I mentioned though, that was with the plushies that are fan made, that they'll always be made. They typically make the hair like out of plush to be styled like it actually is in the show. Is that something you guys have a preference for? Like, get one for one or the other? Like plushie, like this one made out of hair, or preference for like them looking like the show?
Yeah, like sculpted hair or like Build-A-Bear hair.
Yeah, like
okay.
Jack Larson is a plush maker that does like actual brushable manes and everything, and he does them like beautifully. They come out amazing. It really just comes down to our personal preference, because like it is two different types of ways of making a plush, to do the brushable hair versus the minky hair. And I prefer doing minky hair, so that's what I do. But yeah, it really comes down to the maker's preference, I'd say. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's the same way. I prefer making sculpted hair, but that's just it. That's my preference. But at the same time, to also mention Jack Larson, I love watching her brush with the hair when she does the videos of the brushing.
And faux fur is also much more expensive than minky.
Is it?
Usually,
I've
yeah,
actually
faux-
never priced it.
Yeah, faux fur is usually, to get that longer pile, it is like almost double, if not triple, the price of minky.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is an expensive material.
It is nice. It is expensive.
Really
and
nice one at Joann's, but it's $50 a yard.
Yeah. And it's also a lot more complicated to work with, because like minky, when we sew with minky, it does slip and slide, so we have to pin it like crazy, like it's Pinhead from the horror movies, if not more. Faux fur, which is like for the brushable, not only do you have to pin it like crazy because it slips and slides, you also have to trim around your seam allowance, so that way when you sew it and turn it, there's not a bulk of fur in your seam, and you actually can turn it. Because if not, you're going to have a ton of fur, and not only is it going to be almost impossible to turn, you're going to have to brush it all out afterwards, and it can literally take hours.
I have a little trick.
You
for
get a
that.
pet brush and go.
I work with rabbit fur for my Christmas stockings.
Ooh.
It's so silky and smooth, and it's
Yeah,
nice,
that
but
fur
also
really is.
it sheds everywhere. When you
It
cut
does.
it. So when I cut it out, when I
do it outside,
I sew it together, I don't. I actually have a little trick. So I take like packing tape, and I'll like put it over the place where I stuck it and peel it all off, and there's all the hair on the
Oh, that's a good
That
idea.
sounds lovely.
That's what I do.
I take my hand and I go like this along the edge to get it all in my hand, and then I'll throw it in the trash, and then I'll go like that again to get it all.
But with the hair, it doesn't really come off your hand. It just all sticks to your hand. Or it does mine anyway.
I do it so much now. I just do a quick like, and it's all gone.
I take mine outside and shake it and let the birds have it.
I should be more professional than I am and do stuff like that. Like some people use vacuums and everything. I'm like, nah, we going old school here.
We're all professionals here.
When you can't find the right color at Joann's or Hobby Lobby, who's your Mickey deals with them?
Do not buy minky from Joann. Let me go with that first of all. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Don't.
Their minky is really terrible quality. If you pull it too hard, it will rip. And it's not very soft at all. No, Joann. Okay, sorry, go on.
I did use Minky from Joann for testing though.
Yes, it is.
That is a good thing
Yeah.
to do it with.
Because it's half the price, it stretches the same way, and it works for that. But as far as, I don't actually have one single supplier for my minky anymore.
I have 2 that I use a lot.
I kind of shop around.
Yeah,
'cause I-
fabric.com closed, RIP.
Yeah, really.
That, fabric.com. Yeah.
I use a company called MissouriQuiltCo.com.
Yes.
They usually have a bunch. Their customer service is lovely, and they have a point system. So when you order, you get points that don't expire, and you can use it to discount.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know about them.
It's so great.
Yeah.
I've been using Cali Quilt Co., which is the same in California.
That was the other one I was going to talk about. They're on. I know they're on Etsy. Do they have their own account? Website?
Yeah, they have their own website.
Okay, yeah, that was the other one I was talking about.
I will say this about Kelly Quilt Co. One time they said I was trying out their fur to make long Furbies with, and they emailed me and said, hey, we're out of these 2 colors. So I just said, hey, this is what I make. Sent them a jump scare photo of long Furbies. I'm like, what furs do you think would work best for these? And they said, oh, we got you. And they sent me 2 random ones. It was great. Their customer service is top notch.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm like, just pick 2 for me. What do you think will look good on these things? And then, did you have another? You said you don't have one main source.
I don't have a main one. I do use a Missouri Quilt Co. I have been using that.
Yeah,
and then
they're
I'm gonna
if
try
they don't
them.
have it, which they have most things, but if they have,
Yeah.
other than that, I just kind of Google search and see what pops up.
I know How Fabric has Minky now. They're where a lot of people get their fur from for fursuits, but it takes a long time to arrive. So with me doing so many cons, usually I do 1 a month. I just don't have time to wait for that. So I don't recommend them if you need it in a set amount of time.
Yeah.
And then where do you get your yarn?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Fair enough.
Hoof in the back.
I recently got a Rainbow Dash to build and for some unknown reason, somebody did, and I don't even know how they did it, pulled on her cutie mark strings.
Oh.
Oh no.
It's not broken or anything, it's all completely still attached. Is there any way to re-pull them tight?
If it's what I'm...
Build a builder.
Oh, the embroidery?
Yeah. So what that is, it's called applique or what's the other thing it's called? Satin stitching.
Yeah.
Satin stitching is when you use the embroidery machine to go, or not embroidery, your sewing machine to go around a piece of fabric on another fabric. So the other bit of it is stitched down. The applique is just giving it a nice finished looking seam. And so once the thread is out, there's really not a good way to put that down. What you might want to do is just get it. Yeah, you want to make sure you stitch. Yeah, if you use a whip stitch, you'll make sure you can stitch down the part that was appliqued, but you'll probably just want to pull out that thread and then stitch it down yourself. Unfortunately, that's not something you can really fix once it's there, because you do that when it's a flat piece of fabric.
Yeah.
If you took it all the way apart and then just had the pattern piece, you could go over it again with a sewing machine, but that is a lot of work to fix that little bit. So hand stitch, whip stitch would be the best,
Blanket
I'd say.
stitch, yeah. Whichever one you want to go for. whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry.
about that.
So if the applique fabric is starting to come up, you could always do a little bit of fabric glue behind it
That
before.
too.
before
Yeah,
you do
fabric
that
glue
whip
works for
stitch.
that,
Yeah.
for sure.
So, okay, so something I noticed. So I'm sure if you go online, you can find a ton of people who post their patterns for a general pony base. So that's easy enough to find, learn, develop, learn to your own, that kind of thing. But something I noticed that probably will be a lot harder is, understandably, go back to my earlier question, the mains, which is, so especially for characters who aren't as popular and probably don't have a pattern for their main online, how do you figure out how to turn it into a pattern? How do you create a main pattern?
So speaking from my perspective, I've been doing this for over 10 years now. Chances are, if there's a pony who I haven't made yet, I've made someone similar enough that I can use somebody's mane as a starting point. And generally speaking, there's only 2 really types of manes. There's either a flat mane or there's a stuffed mane, or a 3-dimensional mane, like Derpy there. And once you kind of figure that part out, after that it's just styling. Like
Rainbow Dash.
Derpy's mane is pretty similar to Rainbow Dash. It's just the spikes are kind of differently shaped.
Sorry.
But essentially it's the same thing. You've got a base piece that goes like this and 2 pieces on top, and then you stuff it, and the more you do it, the more...
Yeah, you eventually understand.
That's the benefit to G4 being a flash puppet show, is that there's a lot easier they'll reuse pieces of ponies for other ponies. So it's a lot easier to reuse pieces and use them for other things.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And then when you're trying to figure out a new type of hair, like if we're an OC or something, a lot of trial and error. Like you can we've done it so long, you can kind of like look at it and be like, oh, I need this shape. But when I was first starting out, it was a lot of like, all right, let's go to the graphing paper and draw it out. Let's see what'll work. Testing it on like, you can get that Joanne Minky or something cheaper like fleece to test out your patterns on, see how it looks once it's all turned inside out. So that way you're not wasting the actual main Minky.
Someone had me make a Rolling Thunder plush, which she has the really tight curly granny hair on top. And I found the best way to do that was, instead of trying to somehow make it one solid piece, which is what it would actually be if it was real hair, make it a bunch of just little tiny curls and just little pieces, just individual pieces. And then I just like position them around until it finally looked right. So sometimes you can fake something looking like a whole piece, even if you're using a bunch of little pieces. That's another little trick I've learned too.
Yeah. Break them apart.
Yeah.
All right, I think,
I know she had a question.
okay, yeah, we'll answer that question, then we should probably make closing remarks.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll stay around.
Yes. Okay,
Oh,
sorry.
so I keep asking this, and I think I've been asking this for 4 years. Has anybody done a crystal pony?
Crystal?
A crystal
pony?
Yeah, I've been challenging, and I finally commissioned some guy in Mexico named Plushy Shy, and they're up for it. And they tried talking me into doing a print screen. I'm like, no. So now what they're gonna do is do a patchwork, I guess. And we'll see it when we see it.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah,
That's a
like,
cool
has
idea.
anybody else ever?
I haven't.
I have.
I've asked you.
okay.
Yeah, I have. There are two methods of which I have tried. The first method I did was my idea was to use crushed velvet, which is completely different than Minky, but it had that nice sparkle to it. The other method was actually a method I learned from Naz, which is all airbrushing. You use your base, yeah, and then you just airbrush all the different lines and shapes. And she's done crystal ponies and they look fantastic, but they just take forever. NazFX.
NAZFX.
I keep trying to find stuff online or other examples, and I just never see crystal ponies.
Yeah. Naz hasn't done a lot of ponies recently, but if you go onto her DeviantArt, she has done a crystal Princess Cadence.
Yeah.
And it looks beautiful.
They're one of the top makers. They're in Australia, and they're one of the top makers because they have like a huge studio of just every single type of like machine that you could ever possibly want. That is pretty much one of the main like limits to growth at a certain point, is just what machines you have access to. And so Naz is like what we all dream to aspire to with all those machines. Oh gosh.
Or me plus you. Me plus you.
Oh yeah,
Me plus you.
Yeah.
Full X.
Full X.
Bullets.
Where do you find that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Start with that.
It's FOLEX is how you spell Folex. It is a type of cleaner for your fabric. It is awesome. I don't know where exactly you can find it because I just buy stuff off Amazon now.
It's powder, isn't it? Is it the powder or is it the liquid?
There's two different varieties.
Okay.
It just depends on what you get.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah.
basically, you'll do spot cleaning, like is where you'll just put a little bit of water and a little bit of soap, and then you just use a toothbrush and kind of brush.
Toothbrush, and then as it's
A what?
Like a carpet cleaner, wet bed.
Wouldn't recommend it because of the stuffing.
yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I know one thing is, as your plush is drying, if you like periodically brush it with a toothbrush, it'll help the nap of the Minky stay nice and
Yeah, so
fresh.
you can keep brush it in the direction of the fur.
All right.
And
so-
cold water, not warm. Warm
Yes.
water sets stains.
Yes. All right. So let's do our closing statements. So I guess we'll start with you. Which end do we start with?
Whichever. Why don't you start us off?
What am I supposed to be doing? We should probably start at the other
Closing.
end. So I know.
Okay. We're professionals.
Yeah. We should do a panel like this again.
Yeah, I like this.
Hey, if you guys let me jump in, I'll do it.
So what? Just
closing remarks, like saying your piece, saying goodbye, all that good stuff. I think anyone can sew. If I can do it, you can do it. My first plushies look like crap because 20 years ago there were no resources online, there were no patterns online, there was no Sew Destiny or anything like that. So it was pretty much just drawing with markers on felt. I was in grade school, so what can you say? But yeah, no, it was the wild plushing west back then, and so makers like me and others have made resources for you to use so you can start ahead of where we did. So use your resources. If we can do it, you can absolutely do it.
She said it best. I can't add to that. Yeah,
And 9 times out of
absolutely.
10, we're always welcome to answer questions.
Yes,
Yeah.
always open to answer questions. If I don't respond right away, I'm probably at a convention or dying after a convention, but I'll respond to you when I'm done dying.
And then you'll respawn.
And then I'll
After that.
respawn, yeah. I got a 2-day respawn time. And did you have a closing comment you want to make?
No, it's fun. Thanks for listening to us and
Absolutely.
Yeah.
and like everyone else, if you have a question.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we love you guys.
Love you guys. Yeah,
Love
thank
you.
so much.
Thank you guys for coming to see us. Really appreciate it.